you guys for joining here. For me, you are the greatest because you are all it matters. So you are the guys who understand the meaning of this. There are not many, though. So my name is Dan Bogos. I'm part of CGRateS core development team. I'm there since beginning, since I'm founder. And I will be talking today about what we call adaptive routing. And most important is that we got also LRN support, which starts being pretty important here in US. A bit about our background. So we are a company located in Bavaria, Germany. You know Oktoberfest. So you have just missed it, by the way. It was a lot of fun. We got over 11 years of experience. So the company started in 2007. We have done server-side solutions in VoIP environments since I know myself. We got platforms implementations covering both wholesale and retail, and we kind of educate ourselves towards understanding and responsibly understanding the real-time processing constraints and this live system outages, which give us all pretty big nightmares sometimes. About CGRateS. CGRateS, it's more like a framework. We started with billing. So first, our initial component was rating, and then we evolved over time into a billing framework, let's call it, and we mix some terms inside. So we are real time because from day one we were an OCS, so online charging system. Then we are enterprise because we are very customizable. You define the business rules, we don't impose them to you. And we are a suite because we have, I think, 10, 11 daemons which you can run together to build an infrastructure based on your own needs. It should be pluggable into existing infrastructure, so you don't need to replace your existing billing system. That's important for many of our customers because these things cost money and require a trust relationship, so nobody wants to give up that easily, especially the a bit bigger, let's say, fishes. And we don't want to be hard to get inside, so it should be pretty or fairly easy to integrate it into existing. Then it's also able to accommodate new components later, because we are a generic system. So you can get new SMS service or new COM switch, whatever, again, in theory, because we have plugins covering a lot of platforms, you should be able to accommodate it pretty easy in the future. And we are non-intrusive, so we don't force you routing your traffic through a switch of ours or to be like one single point of failure or whatever. We exchange information with your switch or with your infrastructure. So we exchange data and you take the decisions which you want. It's all open source software. So the full sources for this you can locate on GitHub. So if you go on GitHub CGRateS, you will find there all our libraries and all the software which we produce. We have no add-ons in private repositories, so we don't sell you extra stuff from private. That has a purpose because being billing, we consider that it has a lot to do with security as well, and we consider that security is more secure if it's open. So this is why we publish all on GitHub, so people can look inside, can blame us. We are ready to learn always. So everything what we do, you find it there. And we also have a big consideration for community contributions. So anything you want, a feature, any idea, we are happy to have it there. It's a project performance oriented, because being as core and being online, it needs to be fast. Otherwise, it will slow down your complete network. So we have optimized it to be fast. So for that, we have built an advanced caching system, because anything which hits the network, it's the slowest point you get. So on at least this is our biggest problem. Every time we need to serialize and deserialize, we lose milliseconds, and that's natural because there is no system right now who can do it faster. Then for that, we have implemented transactional inside our caching. Then we have implemented LRU. If you are familiar with this, it's least record used. So we keep always the hot data in cache. So the data is dynamically retrieved and destroyed as well. And we also have capacity to put TTL records. So you can cache the destination and keep it for a number or for an amount of time. For example, if you are dealing with what we will be discussing, LRN, you can keep the destination cached for 5, 10 minutes, 1 day, and then they will automatically expire. So next time when you hit it, it can be retrieved again, or it can be served from the cache. So it's a completely dynamic caching system. Then everything what we do is asynchronous. So we have this because the project itself is written in Golang, we have these micro threads, and everything we do, it's based on micro threads. The advantage against system threads, it's on one go made it very easy to use them, and on second is that you don't hit the limit of the system threads which you normally get. We can handle millions of micro threads, which a minimum of system threads. It's a test-driven development project, so most of the times we write the test before developing the code. It's easier for us, and also it serves as documentation for us later. So you will find a lot of tests there. We have unit tests, then we have integration tests, and then we have even call simulation tests over various switches. So it's pretty well tested project. On each commit we do, by the way, it goes on GitHub, and then it goes on Travis, if you know Travis. So if we do mistakes, Travis will send us alarms back by emails, and will also make a big badge red on our website. So anytime you want to see whether we are stable, because we recommend our master to go in production, which not many are doing. We use it also at customer sites, pretty new versions of master in production, and all this possible because of this testing, automatic testing. It's a modular architecture. It should be cloud ready, because everybody talks about cloud. It's built on microservices, so you can run it in Docker, in VM, KVM, whatever, or you can run it on bare metal. It's your choice. There is nothing to stand against that. It's also easy to enhance by rewriting specific components. So if you don't like a component of our own, for, I don't know, CDR server or whatever, you can write your own, because the other components talk between themselves always via APIs. So even if they are part of the same project, they can be taken out as well. It's feature rich, so we got what people are calling online charging system. We also are an offline charging system if you are billing in postpaid mode. We have multi-tenancy. This was from day one, so you can isolate, virtualize your platform if you want to start a hosted billing system, for example, or you want to have resellers and distributors using the system, and you do the billing for them as well. So you can do the billing for your own customers and for the customer of your customers. And this can be also automated, so you can send them CDRs billed in real time to their site, so they get it just displayed in real time as well, which is kind of magic considering billing. Rating engine, so we support there what we call derived charging. This derived charging, it's a hunted functionality of CGRateS because it allows you to fork or to virtually fork sessions inside CGRateS. So you can receive a CDR and you can bill it a number of different times. So you can have customer, as I told you, you can have distributor pricing, you can have supplier pricing, so you automatically can see your margins due to that. And you can do that unlimited number of times. So one CDR in, unlimited out. Then we have also a number rating if you want to bill per CLI. There was some demand in Europe at some point. If calls are coming from let's say Europe, bill them with some price per destination. If they are coming from another region, bill them with another price per destination. Account balance management with bundles. So you get this, what mostly mobile operators are using, because we are pretty popular among MVNOs. You get a number of minutes per destination, per a group of destinations. Then you can have data bundles, which some of them expired at the end of the month, some of they daily, and so on, some of them. And then you can have also SMS, so you are able to build pretty much anything you like, even including if you want to sell cars, and then maybe offer them SMS bundles attached. Then we do session or event charging with balance reservation and refunds. This is useful because you might be having multiple calls from the same account. By multiple, I can say maybe thousands of calls from within the same account. And when the account gets finished, you want all of them in the same time to be killed. And this is almost impossible to do because you cannot estimate the usage unless you do it in this reservation mode. And the refund is also some complex problem because you might be consuming out of bundles and various bundles, and then for all of your 1,000 calls you need to refund inside various bundles because some of them are finished, you get into another one, and so on. So this refunds was a big deal to us, or for us. We have plugins or agents, we call them agents, into major open source software VoIP systems. So we support Camaillio, we support FreeSwitch, we support Asterix, we support OpenShips, and then we have interfaces for legacy systems. So we do it via Diameter or Radius. This Diameter, it's pretty popular in IMS world nowadays. And we also have generic APIs. So you get full range of interoperability if you want to develop in your own network. Then CDR logging with support for interim records. So we do this, you can get CDRs from not only one source. So you can get from your suppliers if you want to do billing assurance. So you can rate what your suppliers rated based on their pricing to see if it fits. They normally send this via CSVs or another format. And then you can get online CDRs from, let's say, your Asterix system. And then you can get other CDRs from whatever source you have. They all get into centralized CDR server, and then you can log them there or replicate them further. We have an interesting functionality, what we call message queues, or CDR queues. then we can receive the CDR from your side or from your switch and pass it over a few milliseconds later already rated. So it will be like CDRs are coming in real time from your Asterix system directly rated, which is quite flexible and interesting thing. Fraud detection, we have a built-in dedicated module for fraud detection, and we have also automatic mitigation support. So if you detect fraud, then you can also react. So let's say it's middle of the night when fraud happens, the system can shut down the account based on your own definitions, and then can also inform your NOC. So maybe if they come only in the morning, your customer will complain that he cannot call again, but he will be safe overnight. So it depends there on your decisions. LCR, what I'll talk about today, with support for QoS routing, as well as support for bundles. So if you have partners which are offering you a bundle of minutes over weekend or special prices, but with a limited number of minutes, you can use that as well. LCR is smart enough to learn when the minutes are gone, so based on your CDRs, so it will then take it automatically out of routing. Event statistics with pattern monitoring, this is very useful because it offers transparency to what you get in your network. You can get a lot of features there as well. I'll talk briefly about those as well. Diameter or radius server with process templates. This is useful because, you know, diameter, everybody runs away just because it's complex to implement. With this solution is not anymore, because you write the logic yourself. So if they come up with a new standard, you can do it, because a standard for them, or what they call interface, it's just about what attributes and values you receive and what attributes and values you pass back. And this is fully configurable via these processing templates. Resource allocation controller. This is something which you can use if you want to monitor resources of your customers. So you can have things like the number of channels per specific destination at specific point in time, or other filters attached. So you can define the rules yourself. So as soon as these resources are used, then they will not be able to make further calls out. So resources is very flexible, as you will see. Normally when people are thinking just the number of channels, that's it. But the number of channels can be further exploited, so it can be channels per destination, per time, based on the supplier statistics. So if you know you have a supplier which offers you 100 channels with specific price, and then you have another one with other price, you can make resources with failover and so on. So you use the suppliers which are more expensive in terms of amount of channels. You can use them only later when you have no other choice, instead of just dropping the traffic. Built-in high availability support, because it's always a hot theme. Everybody wants to be highly available and across multiple data centers and so on. And we are pretty agile in developing new features. We love development. Some stats. This is when we started publishing on GitHub in 2012. And this is where we are today. So we were constantly growing in terms of code and functionality, because we are still conservative with adding code. It needs to make sense, so we don't just implement things. You see, from 2013, which is the time when we started going to conferences and talking about the project, we had almost no day without commits. So that means we are a pretty active project. By the way, these stats are provided by openhub.net. They are independent project. They don't know us, so they are pretty. They should be pretty or fairly fairly correct to us. You can see here a diagram like emulating or giving you an idea about how you can use our components. The problem is that these diagrams are hard to make because of the flexibility of the system. So you can combine and you can have various bindings based on your own configs. So you can make CGR sessions talk to another component like thresholds to inform about, or directly to attributes or directly to roles. So it's hard to make a final. You can get, if you will make the final schema or drawing, it will be like a 3D one and it will be quite scrambled. So I'm trying just to make you an idea. So you have the entry point, what we call agents, or the interface is outside. The diameter radius asterisk here, which is very important for us today. Free switch agent, Kamailio, and OpenSIPs. And then they talk to our component, what we call CGR sessions. This is used for session management and this session reservation and stuff. And then as soon as the sessions are gone, then the CDR will be sent to the CDR server. You see the CDR server can receive CDRs from other sources as well. So CDR sessions is just another source for CDR server. Then it can store the CDRs, or if you are, I don't know, if you have problems with privacy and you have specific rules how you want to handle the CDRs, you can choose not to store it in CGRateS. So with this rating queues, which I talked about, you can directly send it further in the processing queue. So you don't need to store unless you want to. Then you process it via other components of CGRateS. And then after they are all done, they send it to thresholds. This thresholds is the fraud detection system which we have. And then after all is done, maybe it's taking actions based on that and sending it over to your server to inform you that a threshold was breached, or anything like what you want to be informed or what you want to be monitored. We say that this threshold is like your employee because it takes care about your network and your data. Inside the CDR server, you can also directly export or push the CDRs further via HTTP or AMQP. So we support RabbitMQ, and this is useful because sometimes we push the CDRs too fast and the remote CDR or the remote HTTP server cannot process that fast. And then you get all sorts of issues with too many file descriptors because of TCP connections, or it simply kills the remote server. So then you can use another solution like RabbitMQ, which holds the CDRs until you are ready to retrieve them. So this is why we have added the RabbitMQ. This is like a receipt about what you can achieve with CGRateS, but as I told you, since it's a generic framework, you can combine it in different ways. So this is what you would do if you would like to use it as a charging system. So you have highly configurable rating with a lot of settings inside. Then you can get unlimited balances. We call bundles balances. Each account can have any number of balances of different types. So it can be voice, data, SMS, MMS, monetary for money, or generic for cars. You can also have unlimited bundle combinations with prioritization. So you decide the order they are processed. Then you have concurrent sessions handling inside sessions, and this balance the reservation in chunks of debit interval, balance refunds, or debit slip. Because if you are charging per minute and you do every 5-second debit interval, then you need to be smart enough to slip, not to charge more, because you will get minute billing for every 5 seconds. Then you use the centralized CDR server for getting the CDR. So this is a solution of online charging system which you can have. Then you can also do routing, which is the subject of my talk today. We have a dedicated subsystem for that. We call it Suppliers. Because LCR, it was popular in the past. Now suppliers are not only least cost routing based, but it can be many strategies. We have full API coverage to set and manage all the supplier data from remote. So you can write your own tool, your own web interface to manage them. We just store them as data. And we have it integrated inside sessions. So authorized event can also check your suppliers and retrieve it. Then we have it integrated within all agents which we develop. So all of them can pass data further. In our case, Asterix agent can feed information into Asterix. So like magic, you get channel variables inside Asterix call with your supplier data. And that offers you the possibility to use it in your dial plan or not to use it. If you want statically, it's fine. But you can check, did CGRateS write me a supplier for this? If it right, I trust it, I will use it in my dial plan. And you can use this go to if function for that. So you can explore how many suppliers you have. You can have failover between them because we write them there, and then you can decide based on what we write, because we write multiple data there, and you can decide how many you want to fail over and in which way. LRN support via attributes subsystem. So our routing can be LRN aware. So it can, how we do it is we loop queries for the same event. We need to do this specifically for US market where you have this jurisdiction stuff and where you want to, when you need to consider both origination and destination. For us in Europe, it's easier because we have country-based LRN and then we only have destination. So for that, we make multiple queries in order to retrieve information regarding the caller, regarding the destination, and then decide about the jurisdiction. QoS filters, this is for quality-based LCR, and this is also the dynamic part of the routing system which we recommend, because you set thresholds, you set filters which will consider the quality. So you can have a supplier being used only if his ASR is higher than 50%, let's say. So by doing this, we achieve this adaptive routing based on the quality of your suppliers. Once the, yeah?
Can you change the rate plan too as it adapts?
Yes, of course, because you can change the category of the call. So you can do that, of course. Yeah, the filters are dynamic. Yes, and you can also change the rating based on the number of channels which you use of one supplier, because sometimes the suppliers are offering different rating based on how much traffic you're sending them. So if you send them 5 simultaneous channels, they give you a price. If you send them 10, then they give you a different price. Could be cheaper or more expensive based on their own resources available. So you can do that. It's a very flexible system. Unfortunately, comes with a price. You need to handle it well. It's an engineering world there, but it gives you the possibility to do it. So I all the time say, don't scratch unless it's itchy. So you will know when you need such system. This LRN support, it's optimized for this constant response time, even with large data sets. So we have emulated with like 20 million profiles, and the response was instant, which is quite an achievement because you have large data. We use NoSQL databases, and this makes us fast, especially Redis. QoS filters, this is for the dynamic, as I told you. It's in all the stats are in memory, so they are fast, the ASR ACD, it's available instantly because it's already there when you query it. They are built in real time. You don't query them from database because this takes time. And we do the QoS monitoring via threshold subsystem. I made a mistake. There should be the last one, thresholds. You have there various notifications or actions, and you have automatic escalation procedures available. Regarding attributes, few words, because I don't want to bother you so much. I know it's a highly technical presentation. I all the time suffer from this. So attributes would be able to personalize requests with stored attributes. So they are the profiles which you can use to change information inside your request. You have their generic filters. You can add or replace event fields via this, or even remove. And you will see what I'm telling you because we don't know what you're sending us. The system is a generic one, so we don't know what you place in your events. That makes you future compatible because we don't hard code the business logic inside. It's the type of attribute value store, but all cached, so it's way faster than a normal database. We have also context-based data aliasing, so you can apply it in specific context. Just for you to see how we set an attribute profile, so you can imagine, because CGRateS, I don't know, the bad news for you, but it's on purpose like that, is that CGRateS has no web interface. All it's console-based or API-based. The good part is that it's the full functionality is exposed via APIs, so you don't need a web interface. We asked often our customers, do you really want it? And they understood that they don't want, because it's their product. They don't want to show our ugly interface to their customers. And such an API you can see here. So you get some, you see everything is isolated at tenant level. The API key which you get can only access one tenant. So we can decide which part of the system you are allowed to access. And then you set here the field name which you want to consider, and what do you want to be replaced with. In this case, we will substitute the destination with a carrier ID. This is mostly used for LRN in Europe or number portability in Europe. Process event. You see, this event is what I was talking about. We don't care about the content inside. You match it via filters, so it's totally dynamic. We have here two fields, which CGRateS is not aware of. It's account and destination, and the context, and again the information which is important, the tenant which this request belongs to. And then as a reply, we say that we have altered your event with the destination field, specifically to destination field. So if you see, originally we had a number, and now we have a carrier ID. And this carrier ID, it will be what you will price in your price list. So you can use price list based on carrier ID. It doesn't have to be. It can be number based, but it can be also purely other things based, like carrier ID. So what we did, we have replaced the destination. This is what attributes does. It can modify your request. Then supplier, it will offer you the routing which I was talking about. It's tightly coupled with accounting for these bundles, for example. It can integrate traffic patterns, so it doesn't need to be per minute routing. It can be per 3.5 minutes or whatever number of seconds, depending on your normal ACD. You can have various strategies for suppliers. So you can have weight-based, this prioritization. You can have least cost or highest cost even. You can have QoS-based suppliers. And this is fully dynamic, so you can fail over between a supplier which is considered per weight, and a supplier which is considered via least cost strategy. This is all defined in your filters. Some requests can match weight-based, some requests can match QoS, depending on how you configure your filters. Get supplier, for example, will return a list of suppliers. There is a verbose answer, and there is a non-verbose one, like a digest. And you can find also their cost, you can find their rating plan, how we have found out the price, and so on. Stats, I go a bit faster because I only have 5 minutes. Stats can be generically configured to reflect the quality of your network or the status of your network. You have various metrics, ASR, ACD, ACC, which is average call cost, total call cost, distinct destination, PDD, whatever. I'm sure most of you are familiar with these things, otherwise just ping me afterwards. You can also have decide how many events you keep in your queue, because it needs to make sense not to react on 5 CDRs, but maybe after 50 CDRs, so you don't get worried too early. And you have monitoring via thresholds for fraud detection. This is an example of querying the stats, and the metrics which you have here are fully dynamically configurable. So they are available when you ask them to. Thresholds is for fraud detection and all this monitoring of your network. I told you this is your employee checking the system all the time. It has action flooding protection. It has false negative protection. You can monitor multiple values with the same threshold. This is the API to set a threshold. So this is all how you will interact with CGRateS, API based. But this JSON API, it's pretty straightforward. You can just copy this text and paste it over a telnet session, and CGRateS will reply back to you. So it's pretty easy to interact with the system. Process event API will say which thresholds were hit. Number portability, it's implemented as all call query. You know, they have various ways how you can store data. This in CGRateS, it's implemented like you can download the full database. But I was recently talking to Michael here, for example. He is very good with LRN. And it's also able to do per call queries. You use attributes for this all call query. Some scenario, you use number portability for routing and LCR via these subsystems. And you can also rate based on LRN. So both are supported, both routing and rating. In terms of Asterix integration, we are doing real-time via ARI. So we have developed our own open source library for that. Aringo, we call it. It's available on GitHub. You can use it. The implementation is secure. Since the calls are going into Stasis application, they cannot go out unless we tell it to. So it's blocked. It can only go if CGRateS is operational and if the user has enough balance. It can generate real-time CDRs inside. It can generate you stats and all this stuff. It can also build separately the CDRs generated by Asterix, so you can have like an assurance that what you have built via events, it matches the CDRs and you didn't miss any call. And you have integration tutorial available, so you can go there and play yourself with the data. Regarding routing, the data for routing, it's received from CGRateS. No additional database module needed on Asterix side. So the data is fed via a CGRateS interface, via ARI, and we post it via HTTP information back. So HTTP RPC inside Asterix. and is non-intrusive. You use it only if you want to. Routing, we will set some channel variables inside Asterix, so you can make use in your dial plane, as I told you. Then you can do the automatic failover via go-to-if application, and both data will be in one place. So LCR and authorization will be fixed with only one API call, which is an optimization for speed. Calls are monitored in real time. We can kill calls in Asterix, so we interact with Asterix in real time, and the Asterix does not need to be aware about this number portability and all this heavy data. For Asterix will be like you can call or not and use this supplier, and it doesn't need to know more. So it's very light. It takes all the heavy data out of. You have a tutorial if you want to do LRN. It's published on our GitHub, and you can use these modules for reaching there. Then, I don't know if we have time for...
We have time for
Okay.
a 30-second question.
Exactly, I did it like in a marathon. Sorry for that much information.
I'm not entirely familiar with Asterix, so this may sound like a really dumb question.
That's bad. You should.
So you don't need the CDR module in Asterisk,
Yeah.
and so that'll substantially knock out concurrencies on Asterisk too, right? Especially with PJ-SIP.
I think so. So I'm not an Asterix specialist. We are interacting over socket with Asterix. So normally I recommend using CDRs, especially the CSVs, which are fast, because it gives you an assurance, an extra assurance that your calls are not missed by CGRateS. But you can do this together, so merging them.
I wish we had time for more questions, but Don's always available for. Dan's always around, and
I'm happy to take questions.
We'll be more than happy to talk with you and everything like that. It's a great presentation, a lot of content. Really looking forward to going to GitHub and looking at the examples. And please again go to astricon2018.com.